It was a Queen album called The Game, and I just had word. I was working with Gary Moore at the time in Los Angeles, and I had word that I was supposed to come to Munich and work on the album. So nobody seemed to know anything specific, so I figured I go hop on a plane, come to Munich, and then I turned up in the studio, and a couple of minutes later Freddie turned up and said, "What?" Introduced himself, I introduced myself, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm supposed to do this." And he said, "No, not that I know of, but if you're here, great, let's get going." And then we started doing a crazy little thing called Love. All I knew was stories and video clips, and I was actually quite scared because you just knew he was outrageous, and you expected or I expected the worst, and there he was, and as gentle and helpful and just wonderful. He was extremely shy, and first meetings would always be to anybody terrible, and he would never be the first one to actually break the ice unless he really knew that he had to work with these people, and then he would just make a step forward and say, "Right, this is the way I want it and this is the way I do it." Freddie was, I think, very much into creating a mystique about him and not being too accessible by the media, and just being that outrageous guy who I was a little bit worried about to start with, and being at home watching TV and just making sure the Christmas tree is decorated properly, and having like a really nice household together. I think that was the other person which very few people knew. He was thinking about doing solo things for the longest time, possibly all the way through his career. But I think he was quite scared. He wanted to do things like with Tina Turner, but whenever it got close, he always backed out and probably felt he wasn't good enough, or had just doubts about working in an environment outside the band. And I'm not quite sure how this happened, but maybe simply because he was here in Munich, I was here, and I just said, "Let's get going," and then he just jumped over his shadow and we started doing it. Working on a solo project, for instance, in Munich, I would pick him up at around 2 at his apartment, take him to the studio, had breakfast, then we probably played Scrabble or Trivial Pursuit, and maybe around 5 o'clock we felt all bad enough and compelled to actually do something. So either that happened, or we just had to wait till it was 7 and to go out for dinner. On other days we actually got a lot of work done in probably half the time it would have taken laboring over it the day before. He was absolutely genius. I mean, I told him that many times, "You're a genius," and he said, "Nah, I just do it." And really, it usually took him maybe 15-20 minutes to come up with something absolutely brilliant. The actual execution of doing something, seeing it through to the end, that was a little harder for him, because once he had the idea, it was basically finished for him. There wasn't all that much of a concept in I want to be different or do something outside. It's just he liked danceable stuff very much, and black music, danceable black music, and he just combined that and did what he thought was right for him at the time. Freddie wrote most of the things in the studio. At times he was toying with ideas, but he tended to make things up on the spot, or if it was extremely brilliant, he made believe that he just made it up. But he worked it out before. Fred didn't really wanted nobody else around while he was singing, but at the same time he was literally attacking the microphone just to get what he wanted, or running up to the mic to hit certain high notes. Freddie was an absolute non-technical person. I think at times he was still amazed when he heard what he actually did came out of the speakers again. I mean, this is making it a bit too easy, but still. Technical things he wasn't interested in, and I mean, he tried to explain, but usually just left it to me to find a way to do it. And I think that's was for a good working relationship, because we never really had to discuss in length or at length how to do it. We were a really good match, because I could after a while sort of pick up what he was thinking, and we were thinking along the same lines pretty much, and I managed on a few things to become faster than he thought. So the working relationship was, I mean, and the personal one was extremely good. He really tried to be the perfect host, and Freddie was really sort of funny in trying to lay the table, bring on drinks, and he really tried his very, very best to be a good housewife. Well, he was very much into creating an image and keeping up an image for the outside world. But at the same time, he wanted a private life and look after his vases and cats, and that he simply couldn't do in London, and obviously not in New York. There's too many bars there. I think they chose Munich because a lot of bands at that time came through Munich, such as Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, what else? T-Rex, and so I guess it was something like word of mouth too. Say like a neutral ground, which has a different language. He was able to go into shops. He could go just in the supermarket and just wander around and do things by himself without having press or just people breathing down his neck. He could go to the beer gardens and just more or less behave like a regular person, which he very much was when he was off stage. And I took him down to the English Garden, where they have the big beers, and he just sort of walked, and he had like a fairly outrageous outfit for that time, you know, like Hawaiian shirt, flowery shorts, and a bunch of people, and you know, and I pretty much knew everybody there, so it was like kind of unusual, but he was so charismatic, and you know, just didn't care about anything. So I figured, what should I care? And that made for a good start. He was very much outgoing here, and as I said before, he didn't have anything to lose, and he just could talk to people in the bar where nobody would really be very much interested in, are you a singer? And that would be always like second or third stage. But first it was just having a good time and dancing and whatnot. It did change my life, that I actually realized there's not that many really, really good people around, and that I had to be really grateful for actually having the opportunities for a number of years to work with him, and not to slave away over a hot Mexican console and trying to make people who aren't really all that good into something what the record company thought they should be. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think for the entire time we've worked together or were together, everything what needed to be said was said. But after he was ill, it was just extremely difficult to actually get through to him. I mean, telephone-wise, or I mean, I even went round to his house, and he was out to see his mother, and I tried there, and I probably didn't try hard enough. I should have tried harder. this is the only thing I'm not really too happy about myself. He was like one of the really brilliant rock and rollers of the time, or of all times really. Not many people who can sort of live up to that.